The midnight minutes had been summoned. My name's Andy, and I live at a residential college of a university. In an effort to promote cross-cultural and political exchange, the student body had formed a group called the Midnight Minutes. A number of individuals from varying beliefs would come together at least once a month to discuss a matter over. The discussion would be then synopsized and put into the student newsletter. In tradition, these meetings would take place in the student common room late at night, usually starting at 10 in the evening, but as they would often continue for hours into the night, the name the Midnight Minutes stuck. I belonged to the 6th generation of the Midnight Minutes members. I was the atheist of the group and, politically, sat somewhat left-center. While there were our regularly scheduled meetings, there were also ad hoc emergency meetings if one of us had a topic that we really needed to talk about. That would result in a summons. Alicia had summoned us. I was the earliest, Chloe coming next. With a plus-size figure, faded clothes that always looked starchy and frayed and uncomfortable, Chloe was the evangelical Christian. She was right-wing, pro-life, anti-LGBTQ marriage, New World Order, conspiracyist, young Earth creationist. But at least she wasn't a flat earther. Needless to say, I found Chloe insufferable, although she did always try to be nice to me, prays for my salvation every night, and yada yada yada. She greeted me with a chirp, which I grunted in reply to. Before I was forced to endure any small talk, Jordan and Raj came in. Jordan and Raj are Hindus, and gay, and yes, they're seeing each other. I found them amusing as it was easy to lure them into self-conflicting arguments between their professional religion, Indian customs against their LGBTQ identities, especially since they're not terribly religious. No, what made Jordan and Raj interesting was their real passion, ghost hunting. Here's where we got into serious debate. The paranormal to me is completely lacking in evidence, but they were true believers. I did follow them out to a couple of expeditions, an old factory and an abandoned house, and my conclusion was that ghost hunting is the most boring experience in the world. Sure, the places are creepy, but waiting in the dark for 10 hours with no electricity, mobile service, or working plumbing for nothing to show up at all is tedious. We waited for Alicia. She was a Satanist. As vexing as I found Chloe, I found it difficult who was worse. Chloe was part of a religion that affected politics and therefore caused a lot of people to be mistreated. Satanism, unless you buy into Chloe's conspiracy theory that it controls the government, was actually more sensible, simply built around embracing the principle that human beings are selfish. However, it had its creepy aspects, and Alicia seemed far more interested in the occult side of things than the life principles. One would have thought this often put Alicia in league with Raj and Jordan, belief-wise, but the two always turned almost viciously skeptical with Alicia. I think they were in truth scared of her. I think everyone was, a little. While waiting, I politely asked Raj and Jordan about their most recent ghost hunting venture. Predictably, it had been an underwhelming affair. They were a bit bummed and were considering stopping their exploits as they were entering their final semester. Chloe encouraged this by asking them to seek God in repentance, but although I didn't believe in ghosts, I was oddly disappointed that they were giving up on their enterprise. It had made them interesting, and at least ghost hunting was not an organized religion. 20 minutes went by, and I was just about to call Alicia when my phone rang. Speak of the devil, she wanted a video call. I flipped the accept call button, and Alicia's face filled the dark screen. Dark-skinned goth, Alicia's teeth gleamed white like a shark's as her mouth pulled into a broad smile. "Hello, everyone," she greeted. I put my phone down on a coffee table before us. Raj and Jordan craned over so that they could be in the frame, but Chloe only moved a fraction closer with her forehead in the picture. "What's going on, Leash?" I asked. "Thought you were joining us." "I'm predisposed at the moment," she said, smiling. "I have a challenge for you. A test of faith, if you will. Raj chuckled. Sorry, Leash. We've already given that a shot. Raj and Jordan had attended a seance with Alicia and her coven once. Unfortunately, the power of darkness had not chosen to reveal itself to them, something our Hindu ghost hunters had never let her forget. Tonight, however, Alicia did not seem discouraged by her previous failures. Oh, but you're really going to love this one, she replied, her voice lowering into a hiss. There's a little house in the suburbs out here. I've just recently gotten to know the owner and stayed over myself. It's the real deal. She's invited all of us over to spend the night on Saturday. If you can last a night, that is. One of your Satanist friends, Leash? Got us a bit of a haunted house attraction? Some Halloween fun, maybe? Not at all, Alicia interrupted. Bring anything you want to investigate. Infrared cameras, ultraviolet torches, X-ray vision goggles, anything. You can even visit early, if you like. Chloe piped up in a shrill voice. I'm sorry, but I came to these meetings to represent Jesus and share the word of God. I wish you all would stop turning these groups into a way to interact with Satan and his minions. Chloe had a point. This was meant to be a discussion group. Faith a little shaky these days, Jesus girl? Alicia sneered. Chloe sighed and rolled her eyes. Then she got up and made to leave. Before she did, though, she looked at us three boys solemnly. The Holy Spirit is telling me you shouldn't go ahead with this. I'll be praying very hard for all of you. Good night. Raj and Jordan were thinking. Jordan shrugged and tapped his boyfriend on the shoulder. How about one last one for the show? He asked. Yeah, sure, why not? One last one, I thought. Well, it's not like I had a date or anything lined up. All right, Leash, I'm in. But if Satan doesn't show up with a beer in hand, we're all going to make a big post about this in the student newsletter. Deal. I'll send you the address, she said. Then the call went dead. Well, that was a fast meeting. The weekend rolled around, and I rocked up to the address that Alicia had given us. It was about 5:30 in the evening, but gathering clouds had blocked the remainder of the sunlight and formed an ugly bulbous shape in the sky. I saw Raj and Jordan had already arrived. The car doors were open, and there was a trail of ghost hunting camera equipment going to the ajar front door. From inside, I could hear them moving around. The house was located in the suburbs. It was very plain looking. Small patch of grass outside was brown and dry, and the facade needed a new coat of paint to be sure. To be about 20 years old, I guess. I poked my head in and saw a girl seated on the couch, flipping through her phone. She had bright pink wavy hair and wore a tight-fitting leather outfit. She looked up at me with her bright pink contact lenses and flashed me a smile. This appeared to be Alicia's friend that we would be hanging out with. But she was also kinda hot. Hi, she greeted me. You must be Andy. Welcome to my house. My name's Ella. She grabbed my hand and shook it. Come on in. Let me give you a tour before I leave for the night. You're not staying? I asked. Oh no. Best to let you all experience the fright for yourself. As unlucky last, this here's gonna be your bed. She waved her hand at the long sofa in the living room. Your friend's got the guest room upstairs. I'll survive, I said, putting down my overnight bag by the couch. Come on round then. It's not a big place. Back here's the kitchen. You're welcome to anything in the fridge or pantry. This is the basement door. Most haunted place in the house, usually. That's where she lives, at least. She? I said. Oh, yeah, Ella replied with a wicked grin and glanced at me sideways. You're welcome to go down and say hi if you've got the balls, but even if you don't, she'll likely come up to visit at some point of time during the night. When she does, I'd advise you to go upstairs. I don't think she goes upstairs, or just make a new friend, right? I'm sure she's lovely, but she's never wanted to talk to me. Ella ended, giving a mock pout. Right. Ella laughed. You're a tough one. I like you. You don't believe in ghosts anyway, do you? Alicia told me so. Come on upstairs." She led me up the stairs that were by the kitchen entrance. I saw Raj and Jordan fussing over a mess of equipment on the floor. Jordan waved at me. "This here's the guest room your friends are in, and back over there is the spare bathroom. To the front is my bedroom. I've locked it, and I hope I can trust you all to respect my privacy." Sure, no problem," I said. "Okay then, good luck, guys." Raj and Jordan yelled out their thanks and goodbyes. I followed Elle out to the front door where her bag was. She slung it over her shoulder and walked to her car in the garage. "Is Alicia going to show up tonight?" I asked before she got in. She didn't say. "Oh, I'm pretty certain she'll show up eventually," Ella said, smiling as she got in the car. "All right, yes, one last thing. I told your friends this too. The challenge is you have to stay through the night. There will be a lot of scary things going down, but when morning comes, you'll all be safe. If it really gets to be too much, then just leave. No judgment, but you look like a guy who knows how to handle himself." Was that a flirt? I decided it was now or never. "Hey, think I could get your number sometime?" She looked at me with a surprised smile and a glinting pink eye. Then she laughed. "Tell you what, tough guy, if you're still here when I get back in the morning, I'll give you my number." She backed out of her driveway into the road and stopped. "And hey," she yelled, "don't go into my room. That's the only real rule." With that, and a wink, she revved off. It started to drizzle. I looked up at the sky. It felt like the start of a high school essay. It was a dark and stormy night and all that, and 3 idiots were staying overnight in a stranger's house, looking for ghosts. Lightning flashed in the distance, and for a moment I had a strange vision. Across the road was a small park with a few stunted trees in it. One of those trees in the lightning flash had appeared to be a very large hand sticking up from the ground, and on the tip of the forefinger it had Alicia's face smiling at us. Then the vision was gone. I stared into the growing gloom, couldn't make out anything as the low peals of lightning thunder caught up and rumbled over the house. I glanced to my side and saw one of Raj and Jordan's torches conveniently nearby. I grabbed it and shone it back into the darkness where the trees were. Just some twisted old trees. I sniggered at myself. Could it be that I was getting spooked? My society would be disappointed at my lack of rational reasoning. A burst of static made me jump and spin around. It was Raj testing out his EVP machine. I sighed deeply. I hated those things. Shaking my head, I shut the front door. The air was humid and I was sticky from the day, so I thought perhaps I'd have a shower before ordering some pizza for dinner. The shower was good, nice pressure, it was hot. I stepped out and dried myself and went over to the mirror. It had steamed up, and I was just about to wipe off my reflection when I saw the writing on it. For a second, I thought it was written in some foreign language, but instead it was just written in reverse. 1 for yes, 2 for no. I chuckled. Now, this was an elaborate prank. I was pretty sure no one had crept into the bathroom while I was showering to write on the mirror, but it had been someone that had written on the mirror beforehand so that when the steam condensed, the writing would be revealed. Satisfied with my rationalism, I wiped the condensation off the mirror, but the writing wouldn't come off. I looked closely at it, and it seemed the steam and writing was on the other side of the mirror glass. Eventually, the steam on that side faded, and so did the writing. Weird, I thought. I thought about testing whether the writing would reappear with more steam. Perhaps the mirror could be lifted? Just as I placed my finger under the mirror to see if I could pry it from the wall, 2 wooden creaks sounded from above my head. I smiled. I guess I had my response. 2 for no, eh? Well, better listen to the mysterious writing then. See how spooky Alicia really made this house. Thunder came from outside. The storm was truly helping the atmosphere. Looking around, Raj and Jordan appeared to have sorted out their equipment. I poked my head around the guest bedroom, espying Jordan there. "Pizza?" I asked. "Way ahead of you, man. Already ordered. You owe us 15, Jordan said. All good, and I gave him a thumbs up. I walked down the stairs, and there was a knocking on the front door. Was the pizza here already? Chloe? I asked in surprise when I opened the door. She stood there with her hair slightly damp and frizzled from the rain. Look, I'm not here to stay. I'm here against the advice of my pastor. Okay. Could you please not stay overnight here? I gave her an incredulous look. You came all the way here to ask us not to stay overnight. Yes, she said, sounding flustered. I really like you, and I know you don't like me, and that you never really will like me, but I don't want to see you get hurt. Honestly, did not know how to respond to this sudden confession of affection, but she was right. I did not find Chloe attractive at all. Whoa. Just calm down a bit, hey? It's just a house, right? I don't believe in Alicia's stuff, and neither do you. It's going to be a boring night, and by tomorrow morning, it'll be something to laugh about. Chloe nodded glumly. Please? I actually considered it for a moment, but then remembered purple-haired girl's phone number was on the line too. Nah, I'm good. I'll be praying for you, Chloe said. Then she hurriedly took off in the rain as fast as her legs could take her back to her car. The rain was heavy now. I could only just make out the silhouette of her car at the main road and the beams of her headlights as they came on. They drove off into the night. 2 knocks sounded from the wood overhead. I sighed irritably. I was letting the house get to me, but it sounded like I should not have let Chloe drive away. Still, what was I going to do? As Chloe's car drove off, a motorcycle came to take her place. It was the pizza delivery guy. Raj, Jordan, and myself sat around the living room eating pizza. I shared a 6-pack that I had brought with us too. Raj explained the setup they had. The main attraction of the house was the shadow girl who lived in the basement. They had set up cameras in the kitchen, trained on the door, both night vision and infrared. There were 3 other cameras too, one viewing the kitchen from another angle, another viewing the hall from the front door, and one panning the exterior of the house. They asked me if I was cool being in the footage while I slept, and I told them I didn't mind. After the pizza, Raj and Jordan decided to go back up to their room to view the cameras. I decided I did not want to be a third wheel and just stay downstairs. They left, and very quickly, the boredom set in. I was scrolling through my phone and social media for about an hour on the sofa when I heard a double knock. I jumped out of my chair in surprise. There in the window was a face with white teeth, laughing in a strange, mechanical way. Leash? What the hell? Rain had drenched her hair, and while I couldn't see much of her through the black pane, the skin on her face gleamed from the inside light. Enjoying yourself? Yeah, do you want to come inside? Oh, yes, we would love to. Could you open the door for us? We? Chloe's face popped up into view. She looked unwell, and her head was at an angle. Her wet hair was strewn limply across her face. Met her on the way here, Alicia explained. Car trouble. Chloe's face made odd, jerky movements as if to nod. Let us in. Then, both their heads slid out of view towards the front door. I stood up and got to the door, but no sooner had I put my hand on the handle than 2 loud knocks sounded from inside the house. I turned my head, looking for where the sound had come from. 2 for no. There was a screaming and commotion upstairs. I turned around to see Raj and Jordan tearing down the stairs. They jumped on me and dragged me back up the stairs. I was yelling, too shocked to put up much resistance. They threw me into the guest room and slammed the door shut and locked it. What the hell, guys? Alicia and Chloe are out there. Jordan looked at me. His face was ashen gray and his eyes were wide. Raj stood by his side, hands on his knees as he panted. That wasn't Chloe or Alicia, Raj said between breaths. What? They looked like worms, Jordan stammered. The hell are you guys talking about? Giant worms with human faces. Alicia and Chloe's faces, and one more. I saw them on the camera. I frowned, trying to understand. A single knock sounded from somewhere in the room. One for yes. Yes, there was a giant worm with human faces trying to get in. Yes, I'm seriously entertaining the notion that a ghost is communicating with me through knocks on wood. All right, I said, standing up laughing. Didn't think you guys would be all too serious to get together and try to pull such a prank on me, but you're going to have to do a lot better than human-faced worms to make me believe in the supernatural. Just at that moment, there was a flash of lightning, and the lights went out. I could hear Jordan cursing away in the darkness. A couple of moments later, he had switched on a flashlight. It darted over to me, then over to Raj. Raj was staring at his laptop screen. I flipped the light switch behind me up and down, but nothing happened. Then I realized the laptop was still working because it was on battery power. Apparently the rest of the cameras were too. Raj was pointing at something on screen to Jordan. Reluctantly, I went over to have a look. The basement door was now wide open. The night vision cameras showed nothing but an old dusty staircase leading downwards into the gloom. But something started happening on the infrared camera. A cold spot was rising up from the stairs. The blob took on a somewhat humanoid shape. A little girl, maybe? Then it moved off camera. We all stared at the camera that was looking into the kitchen from another angle. That's where the shape would have moved into from the first camera. It wasn't infrared, so we couldn't tell where the cold spot was. The kitchen simply appeared to be empty. There was nothing. Lightning flared up through the windows. I was expecting to see Alicia and Chloe's heads against the window panes, but the window was black. Then slowly, the cupboard beneath the sink opened up all by itself. Despite the insanity of the situation, I couldn't help the thought crossing my mind that the cupboard could have been opened by someone with a string somewhere off camera. This must have been a prank cooked up by Alicia, but how had she gotten the other three roped into this? Particularly Chloe. I knew that was going to be a hard sell in of itself. "Hey, boys," a metallic rasp came from the window. We all turned to find Alicia staring at us through the window. "Aren't you gonna let me in?" Jordan gave a whimper. Raj just stood with his mouth agape, and I felt somewhere in me take over. "Alicia," I heard my voice, "get down from there at once. You're on the second floor. It's raining. You're gonna slip and get hurt." Alicia just laughed and laughed, her head thrown back. Chloe's face also came into view a little lower and to the right of Alicia. It had a stupid look to it, and her laughter was more of a weird gurgle. A third face suddenly slammed itself into the window pane right beside Alicia's. It was the pizza delivery guy. Another smash against the window, and there was a crack in the glass. The delivery guy's nose appeared to be bleeding and broken. There was a flash of lightning, and the three people outside were silhouetted by it. They weren't human faces on worms. They were heads on fingers, connected to a hand as large as a tree. And then they were gone in a flash of lightning. Raj and Jordan were both crying now, unmoving. I was blinking like an owl, trying to understand what I'd just seen. We gotta get out of here," I heard Jordan say weakly. I turned to look at him. He looked like a blubbering mess. We gotta go," he roared, grabbing Raj by the shoulder. She said we could just leave, right? Let's get out of here. I don't know what the hell that thing is or where it was doing, but I'm not staying here another minute." I tried to intervene, but Jordan had kicked open the door and dragged Raj out through it. I groaned and had the sense to grab a torch, following the two into the dark corridors. Well, this was more exciting than the other ghost expedition, at least. I really would have to get Alicia to tell me how she was achieving all these special effects. We all stumbled onto the landing, and I swung the torch around and back and forth. I was about to lead us all down the stairs when two knocks came from overhead. paused for a moment. The night air was cold and clammy, but the air from the stairs was freezing. I shone the torch down the stairs, and long shadows darted everywhere. Dust motes floated serenely in the light, ignorant of the storm outside, but although I couldn't see anything, I could feel something. Something was waiting there in the darkness, daring us to trespass in its territory. Jordan gasped, "What? We need to get out of here." But he didn't get any closer to the stairs either. This was the moment of truth. Did I believe in ghosts or not? I decided not to venture down the stairs. I'm not sure why, but I didn't go into the bathroom either. Instead, I decided to try the master bedroom. I tried the handle and was surprised to find it unlocked. It was bare. There was no bed, no furniture of any kind, and the closet was empty. A thin layer of dust lay across the carpet. The windows had their curtains drawn. There was a lock on the door, but it could only be locked from the inside. Raj and Jordan shambled in after me like the Walking Dead. Jordan stared blankly at the stairs as the door shut. Raj sank to the floor against the wall. Jordan took his place beside him. This room felt strangely safe. Maybe Ella didn't want this part of the house to be involved in the ruse. But why not? There really wasn't a thing in here. On the rear wall was a door to the ensuite bathroom. Slowly, I made my way over and peered in. The flashlight beam was reflected back at me by a mirror spanning the length of the wall. Suddenly, it wasn't just the flashlight that was bright. There was light coming from the mirror. In the mirror, where there should have been the reflection of me looking back at the open door, instead was the reflection of a door that was partially closed, and a hand had come through the door and flicked the bathroom light on. The mirror door opened, and there stood a skinny, bespectacled fellow where I should have been. He held up a hand as if to say he meant no harm, then dragged a stool into the reflection of the bathroom and sat on it. A knock sounded over my head. What's going on?" I heard Raj say from behind me. All three of us gathered in the bathroom, giving audience to the mirror. "Hey," the guy said solemnly. This is some kind of trick. Is this a screen or two-way mirror?" I asked, touching the glass surface. The guy in the mirror shook his head. "Sorry, it's not. My name's Josh, and this is going to sound insane, but I need to start by saying I'm sorry. I didn't know it would turn out this way." Raj came closer. "Are you in the mirror?" Josh grimaced. "Guess so. I'm Josh from a mirror world. I don't know what happened to the Josh in your world. I don't think I want to know either." "I don't understand," I said. The skinny dude gave a sigh and adjusted his glasses. "You've ran into the hand." Raj, Jordan, and I looked at each other. Big hand with the heads of our friends' faces on its fingers?" Raj said. Josh nodded grimly. "You guys seen the basement thing yet?" "Yeah, just now." "Okay then, listen to me very carefully. The hand can't get into the house unless it's invited in. I don't know why, it just doesn't. I don't know what it is, I don't know who or where it comes from, but every new moon, it hunts anyone who comes into this place. As long as no one invites it in, you're safe. But if someone invites it in, you need to find the tunnel." "The tunnel?" I asked. "Yes, the tunnel. The basement thing. Did you see if she interacted with anything?" Yeah, the kitchen sink drawer," Jordan said. Josh winced. "That'd be right. If you look there, you'll find a black tunnel. It's the only safe place from the hand if it gets in the house. If you go into that tunnel, only go as far as you need for safety. Don't explore it. Wait to hear a knock from the house. Usually sounds like someone rapping on wood. Only come out if you hear a knock. One knock, not two." Why can't we just drive off?" Jordan asked. "The girl we met here said we could just leave." Josh gained an angry look. "Don't trust anything she told you. Anyone who comes into this house on a new moon is marked. The hand will hunt you wherever you go." "How do you know all this?" Raj asked. Again, sorry. I was caught in a bad place. I made a deal with the devil, maybe the devil, in exchange for my life. Took his book and passed it to the mirror demon. She's the purple-haired girl you met. I didn't know it would release her from your world. The lights in the mirror flickered. I don't have much time. Don't invite the hand in. Go into the tunnel if you need to, but don't explore it. The devil waits inside. Wait for the knock. And please, if you find the book, burn it. I'm so sorry. Then the mirror went dark, and the three of us were staring at our own reflections. My incredulity kicked in, and I turned to Raj and Jordan. Look, I don't know if you guys are in on this whole thing. My guess is that you must be. That is some really cool makeup and special effects you guys needed to pour into making that hand thing. Those film studies courses at uni are really paying off, I guess. But all we gotta do is not invite the freaky hand puppet thing in till morning, right? Raj and Jordan looked at each other. Do you still think this is a prank? Raj sputtered. Sorry, dude, I don't believe in ghosts. Raj looked as if he was about to hit me when Jordan shushed both of us. He indicated that we should listen. There, past the sound of the rain, I could hear a car engine. Someone had come to the house. Cautiously, Jordan opened the bedroom door. It was still dark outside in the landing area, but the chilly air from the stairs was no longer present. The three of us tiptoed out. By the light of the torch, made our way downstairs, just as the front door opened. Hey, boys, came the voice from a silhouette in the doorframe. Ella? I asked. Told you about not entering my room, didn't I? I couldn't make out her features in the dark, but we could see her waggling her fingers at us. Oh, well, you break one rule, I break one rule. Oh, handy, Ella called out into the night. There was an odd shuffling noise, and a disturbing shadow approached the doorframe. Come on in. A long tubular shape with long hair attached to it jutted from around the doorframe and looked at us. Ella stepped inside with a welcoming wave. The other finger joined it. Chloe's face was upon the thumb, Alicia's on the index finger, and the delivery guy was on the middle. It was truly a surreal sight watching the giant gray hand reach in through the door, a vacant face of its first three fingers, smiling eagerly and hungrily. I had the wind knocked out of me as Raj pushed me into the kitchen. Raj, Jordan, and I turned into a jumble of limbs hurtling towards the kitchen sink. I got shoved into a small black hole in the undersink. Raj was in too, practically on top of me. We both wiggled further in, and I couldn't tell if Jordan was in because Raj was in the way. But there was this awful shriek and scuffle and a sudden whoomp with a heavy curtain closing, and everything went dark after that. Raj was screaming incoherently and kicking furiously against a wall. It dawned on me that there were only two of us in the tunnel, and Raj was kicking a wall where the entrance had been. He kept screaming Jordan's name over and over for a good few minutes. Further in, the tunnel increased in height, letting me half stand. I sat on the floor, feet pressed against the opposing wall, heedless of Raj's agony. I felt sick and exhausted. I think I fainted for a minute. When I came to, I was alone in the dark. I called out for Raj, but I got no response. On my hands and knees, I started feeling my way around. By feeling the wall, I made a guess as to which one the entrance had been. It was still solid. Then, I slowly felt my way down the passage. The tunnel ceiling was never high enough for me to stand up straight, so I found myself crawling most of the time. I kept thinking I would bump my head against something. It was pitch black, and it was all I could do not to piss myself. I didn't recall being afraid of the dark. I guessed my genetic primordial memories were kicking in as much as my rational mind was telling itself that there was a good explanation for everything that was happening tonight. What was this place? We had entered the walls of the house, right? Had we gone under the house? I hadn't noted any elevators or changes in elevation, but that was the only thing that could have made sense. Otherwise, I should be on the outside of the house. Somewhere along the corridor, I felt a strange lump of dusty fabric that I instinctively recoiled from. Then I saw a faint light and recognized the torch. It must be Raj. I shuffled down the tunnel faster and entered a hall. First thing that hit me was the smell of excrement. The torchlight was cast upon an empty wooden chair. It looked ornate with a high back. There was a nasty black stain on it, as if something had rotted there. The stain glistened like slime. There was a distinct footprint in the dust upon the ground that led to an opening on the opposite side of the room. Raj was kneeling before the empty chair, prostrate and naked. He had soiled himself and was mumbling incoherently. Slowly I approached and picked up the torch beside him. I didn't know why, but I didn't say a word. My brain had finally gone numb trying to understand things and was oddly quiet for once. I jabbed Raj under an armpit and somehow managed to drag him back into the tunnel. We passed by a disturbing lump of cloth. I must have touched it earlier. Struggling with his weight and trying to hold on to the torch, I incredibly made it back to where we had started. That's where I dropped him on the floor and sat myself back down, trying to catch my breath. The stink of excrement was unbearable, but I did not want to go any closer to the hall with the chair in it. I turned off the light to conserve the battery. I don't know how long we waited there in the dark. It could have been minutes, could have been hours, but suddenly I became aware of the opening in the wall again. I could just make out the kitchen. There was orange sunlight coming in through the windows as they lit up. I could hear birdsong coming from a distance, and the cherry wood furniture was warm and welcoming. "Morning," I heard Raj gasp. He got to his knees and started to stiffly crawl for the exit. "Morning. We're safe," I sputtered, starting to cry. That's when I heard 2 knocks on the wood. I was going to grab Raj by the heels, but I was too late. A giant gray finger with Jordan's head on it had reached down into view. Its mouth was open, impossibly wide, and it clamped down on Raj's neck with a sickening crunch. Screaming, Raj was dragged out of the tunnel and up out of view. There was a horrid sound of pulpy fruit being squashed. Then nothing. I stared at the tunnel's entrance for a long time, barely daring to breathe. When I made the slightest movement towards it, I heard 2 sharp taps and froze in place. A bizarre shadow blotted out the sunlight in the kitchen, and very slowly, 5 faces lowered into view, upside down. Raj's face was on the pinky, eyes rolling and tongue lolling out. The other faces looked at me with insane stares and wide smiles. Alicia spoke. "Seems that we've covered all 5 fingers. Lucky you." Then they withdrew like snakes, and the hand must have slithered out. The morning returned to the kitchen eventually, and I could hear birdsong again. I didn't move till I heard a single knock from somewhere in the house. Gingerly I got out of the tunnel, and when I looked back, it was gone. The house appeared orderly and empty. I walked silently to the living room, where my overnight bag sat on the couch as if nothing had happened. I grabbed it and exited the front room. I was just about to reach my car when I heard slow clapping from behind me. Ella was standing in the open door of her garage, smiling sweetly. "Andy, you made it," she said in a girlish voice. I backed up against my car, my skin covered in goosebumps. She came in close enough for me to realize she smelled like unscented wax. She pressed a piece of paper to my chest. "My number, just as I promised." Yeah, thanks," I mumbled. Then, pathetically, I scrambled into my car, taking in a deep, sobering breath, and sped off. Ella watched me go, hands on her hips and still smiling. I've been trying to tell myself it's all been some sort of nightmare, a hallucination. I've pored over the scene again and again, but many defy any explanation. I haven't seen the others all week at college. I haven't dared go to the police. I haven't dared to tell anyone. I keep telling myself that it was a very, very elaborate prank, and They'd show up one evening laughing. I'd laugh too and tell them it had been a good one. But they haven't turned up. Instead, I just got a text this evening. It was from Ella. I didn't save her number, but I just knew it was from her. It read, "Your friends say they got rid of the pizza guy's head, so there's room for you now. They say the Midnight Minutes have been summoned." There's a soft thumping from the windows, and I don't dare turn around to see what it is. You're still here. Thanks so much for joining us for tonight's spooky tale. If you'd like a little bit more spooky in your life, why not click on one of the videos that appears at the end of our story, or maybe head on over to one of our playlists where you can get your fill of spooky content. If you like your spooky a little more tactile, I've got a new book that's come out. If you'd like your own copy, there's a link below in the description where you can get your own copy of my spooky book. If you like what you see here on the channel and think you might like to support in a more monetized way, then why not come over to Patreon or become a member on YouTube? Speaking of, let's go ahead and thank our members now. Thanks to Civ Garstad and Unicorn Hollow for being our spooky ghost contributors. Thanks to Saikat, Lee Kendall, Janet, and Chris Kinsella for being our spooky skeleton tier contributors. And, of course, thanks to Xaronan, Winter, Tyler Parker, Stephanie Carrington, Sarah ASMR, Hi Stacy, Emily Coltsfoot, and Cinnamon Fox, and Bella Lee for being our ghostly reader tier contributors. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. As I said, if you'd like to have your name read out at the end of every episode that I make, and maybe get a little more, come on down to Patreon and sign up, or become a member on YouTube. Ghostly Reader tier contributors get a book anytime I write one, which is usually about twice a year. So, what are you waiting for? Come on down and give it a look. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.